We did, as a UCP party, get elected on a particular mandate. And to the extent that we can continue pursuing that mandate, I gather that the former premier had 375 agenda items. I think he managed to check off 300 of them. To the extent that we can continue implementing the agenda that we got the mandate on, I'd like to be able to do that. But I want to be part of the cabinet discussion. And so that's the reason why I was sworn in earlier. I want to do the due diligence of making sure that I have full briefings before I make any decisions about cabinet changes. But we're doing that I think relatively quickly, having that all in place by October the 24th. Only hostility I see is on Twitter, which is why I tend not to spend much time on Twitter. I feel like everyone is very keen to make sure that they're playing a constructive role in keeping our party and our movement together. There's a number of us who have some bruises for having the party split apart and try to be brought back together again. I know how painful it is in trying to go through a unity process, and I think we are all committed. We do not want to see this movement divide one more time. And so there are issues that we have to deal with that came up during the campaign. Campaigns are an exciting time to exchange ideas. And so one of the processes we'll go through at the caucus meeting is that all of the ideas that came out from all of the leadership candidates will be put on the table so that we can prioritize what we want to do in the fall, what we want to do this spring, and what we want to campaign on. As you know, I only campaigned on a very small number of issues because I wanted to be respectful of the caucus and cabinet making process. So I campaigned on reforming Alberta Health Services, on changing the Human Rights Act to ensure that vaccine choice is a protected area and you cannot discriminate on the basis of vaccine choice, as well as the Sovereignty Act. I've also talked about how we would create a framework for health spending accounts, especially to deal with the mental health crisis that we have among our kids, as well as how we would be able to invest more in education assistance in the classroom to help bring kids up to grade levels. So those are the very small number of things that I campaigned on, but there's some great ideas from the other candidates, and I think as we go through and put those on the table, that will help forge the unity. So it's leadership races are a little rough and tumble, and it's just the nature of them. I appreciate the work that Dr. Dina Hinshaw has done, but I think that we are in a new phase where we are now talking about treating coronavirus as endemic as we do influenza, and so I will be developing a new team of public health advisors. Well, I think what you've seen is that we have the ability to defend our jurisdiction even without the Sovereignty Act. I think the Sovereignty Act puts a process in place that will allow for decisions to be debated fully in the legislature. But Tyler Shandro gave an example of how we can assert our authority when he indicated policing was an area of provincial jurisdiction, property and civil rights, area of provincial jurisdiction. Our policing contract allows us to choose our policing priorities, which are gun smuggling and crime in Calgary and Edmonton and in rural communities. That is our policing priority, not confiscating firearms that were legally purchased. And Saskatchewan followed suit and Manitoba followed suit. So we have the ability to defend our constitutional authority in a multitude of different ways. We can do it the way that Minister Shandro did. We can also do it the way that Scott Moe is proposing. We can do it the way British Columbia has done by asking for a formal exemption from the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. The main thing is setting the tone that we are going to make sure that we fully exercise our areas of jurisdiction granted to us under the Constitution. So I feel like there is a mandate to get tough with Ottawa. We've tried a few things that haven't worked, and just affirming that we are going to defend our constitutional authority and defend the fact that we are a signatory to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that shouldn't be controversial. I know it'll be a bit of a change because we've acted like a subordinate level of government, but I feel that when you are going to change the relationship, you should give notice. So I do believe that we have a mandate to get tougher with Ottawa, and this is just going to be the next phase in attempting to change that relationship.